What is going on, everybody? Today I will be previewing the 2024 college football schedule for Fresno State. I will go through every game on their schedule and I will predict which games on the schedule I think they will win, and I will also predict which games on the schedule I think they will lose. But before we get into predicting their schedule, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing. And also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Fresno State is always a solid team. Now that the playoffs have been expanded to 12 teams, you'd have to think Fresno State will always be one of those top teams out of the group of 5. And you'd have to consider that they will make a run for the playoffs at some point. And it probably will not be next season, but Fresno State will most likely always be in that conversation to make the 12-team playoffs. But if Fresno State wants to be a top contender for the playoffs in 2024, they have a lot to clean up on defense. They rank 106 for returning production on defense. They lost their top stars on defense. They lost their defensive captain, Lavelle Bailey. They also lost their leading tackler on the team, Malachi Langley. And they also lost one of their top secondary players, Carlton Johnson. The list is very long, but those are just a few big names that they lost on the defensive side. But on the bright side, they returned some decent talent on offense, including quarterback Mikey Keene, who will be one of the best quarterbacks out of the Mountain West. They also returned their starting running back Malik Sherrod, and their receiving talent will be really solid next season. Fresno State does rank top 15 in returning production on offense. This Fresno State team should be pretty good, but the defense will be the biggest concern. But anyways, I'm going to predict their schedule the best I can with the information I have on this Fresno State team. And Fresno State will only play 7 conference games because of the whole deal Washington State and Oregon State has with the Mountain West, so that's kind of confusing. But Mountain West teams now only play 7 conference games instead of 8. But anyways, the first game of the season for Fresno State will be their toughest game of the season, and they play the reigning national champions, the Michigan Wolverines, on the road to start the season. I'm almost certain Michigan will win this game, but you never know what can happen in college football. Michigan's going to be a different team. There will still be a very good line of scrimmage team, I assume, but there's a lot of questions at quarterback, and the offensive side of the ball is going to look very different for Michigan, and Fresno State could be a sneaky trap game. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's impossible for Fresno State to keep this game close or pull off the upset, but I still have to go with Michigan winning this game because the talent between these two teams should be on a different level. So I do have Fresno State moving to 0-1 to start the season. The next game for Fresno State will be at home against Sacramento State. Sacramento State is actually a pretty solid FCS team, but this should definitely be a win for Fresno State. This is the cupcake game on their schedule, but I think the odds of Sacramento State beating Fresno State are about the same odds as Fresno State beating Michigan. They are both very unlikely, but it's college football and you never know. Fresno State actually had to go into double overtime against Eastern Washington last season to beat them, so who knows what will happen. Sacramento State isn't a terrible FCS team. They actually beat Stanford last season, but they are in the FCS for a reason, and I definitely think Fresno State wins this game, so I have Fresno State moving to 1-1 on the season. The next game for Fresno State will be at home against New Mexico State. Fresno State beat this New Mexico State team 37-10 in the New Mexico Bowl last season. I don't think New Mexico State will win 10 games again. They rank near the bottom of the country in returning production, and even last season a lot of their wins were very questionable. But I guess they will be remembered for getting paid $1.85 million to beat Auburn at their own home stadium by 21 points. Trust me, that moment will never be forgotten. You guys are known for doing something great, New Mexico State. But jokes aside, I'm not very high on this New Mexico State team heading into next season, and I believe Fresno State is definitely the better team. So I do have Fresno State winning this game at home, and I have Fresno State moving to 2-1 on the season. The next game for Fresno State will be on the road against UCLA. This game will actually be played on November 30th, so I believe it will be the last game of the season for Fresno State. None of the conference game dates have been announced yet, so the schedule is kind of all over the place, but Fresno State will play UCLA on the road at the end of the season. This was the game I was most unsure about on their schedule. UCLA is definitely not going to be a great team next season, but UCLA will have this game at home, and it won't be an early season game, so UCLA will probably be more comfortable playing the game at home nearing the end of the season. And this game could be potentially for UCLA to make a bowl game. I know Fresno State always plays well against Pac-12 teams, but since this game is at the end of the season, I actually expect UCLA to be playing their best football. I do not expect UCLA to be a terrible team. They still had one of the best rush defenses last season, and they beat Boise State by double digits in their bowl game. We'll see how UCLA does without Chip Kelly, but this is really a 50-50 toss-up game for me. But I do think Fresno State will lose this game to UCLA, so I do have Fresno State moving to 2-2 on the season. The next game for Fresno State will be on the road to start conference play, and they play Air Force on the road. I don't think Air Force will be that good next season. They rank near the bottom of the whole country for returning production. They were very good last season because of all the seniors that they had on the team. And even with all those seniors, they still fell apart near the end of the season, and they couldn't even make their conference championship. I honestly would not be surprised to see Air Force miss out on a bowl game in 2024, but regardless, I think Fresno State will beat Air Force, so I have Fresno State moving to 3-2 on this season. The next game for Fresno State will be at home against Colorado State. Colorado State is a solid group of 5 team, and they could potentially be a team that makes a bowl game in 2024. Last season they went 5-7, but they were pretty competitive in a lot of their games, and they actually beat Boise State. Like I said, I don't know at what point of the season Fresno State will play these conference games, but Colorado State could be a potential team that upsets Fresno State. It could definitely be a trap game for Fresno State. Colorado State does return a decent amount of talent. This will probably be a game that Fresno State is favorites in, but I actually have Fresno State dropping this game at home and moving to 3-3 on the season. The next game for Fresno State will be at home against Hawaii. The last time Fresno State played Hawaii, they beat Hawaii 55-13. I don't expect Hawaii to be a great team in 2024. They do have a good quarterback, but there's not a lot of talent on this Hawaii team. Hawaii could be a potential trap game. I'm really not sure, but I definitely think Fresno State should win this game. So I do have Fresno State winning this game and moving to 4-3 on the season. The next game for Fresno State is at home against San Jose State. San Jose State actually beat Fresno State 42-18 last season. I don't know what happened to Fresno State to end the season in 2023 because they lost to San Jose State and then they lost to New Mexico and San Diego State, 2 games that they should have definitely won. Fresno State definitely fell apart near the end of last season, and I really don't know what happened, but next season should be different. San Jose State is losing a bunch of talent, and I definitely expect Fresno State to get their revenge at home. So I expect it to be a different type of game this time around, and I do have Fresno State winning this game and moving to 5-3 on the season. The next game for Fresno State will be at home against Washington State. This will not be a conference game, but it is going to feel like a conference game since Washington State is playing a bunch of Mountain West teams. Washington State should be a decent matchup for Fresno State, but Washington State lost Cam Ward and Josh Kelly, 2 players who basically carried that whole offense. And there's so many question marks on this offensive side, definitely since the offensive line was pretty bad last season. Washington State didn't lose as much as Oregon State did, but there's still a big concern for this Washington State team. I think Fresno State does win this game since they have this game at home, and there's just too many questions for this Washington State team, so I have Fresno State moving to 6-3 on this season. The next game for Fresno State will be on the road against Nevada, and this is another one of those games that could be a trap game, definitely since it is on the road. But I already had Fresno State losing to Colorado State, so I do not think Fresno State will lose to Nevada as well. Nevada went 2-10 last season, and Fresno State beat this team pretty easily last season. This could be a trap game, but Nevada is a terrible team, so they probably don't even stand a chance in this game. They did bring in a decent amount of transfers, and maybe they'll be better, but I still have Fresno State winning this game and moving to 7-3 on the season, because Nevada has a lot of work to do to find a way to win games. The next game for Fresno State will be on the road against New Mexico State's little brother, New Mexico. An example of a trap game is when New Mexico beat Fresno State last season, even though New Mexico was bad last season and went 4-8. Do I see Fresno State losing to New Mexico again? Absolutely not. New Mexico will not be good next season, and they rank 123rd in the country for returning production. And come on now, Fresno State, you better not lose to New Mexico State's little brother again. I definitely have Fresno State winning this game and moving to 8-3 on the season. The last game of the season for Fresno State will be on the road against UNLV. I haven't seen anybody talking about this UNLV team to make the playoffs. They are kind of a forgotten about team. I know they lost Jaden Mayava, a quarterback. He was a big part of the reason this UNLV team made the Mountain West Championship to begin with last season. They still returned some talent though, and they have done a very good job in the transfer portal. They have brought in a bunch of defensive additions in the transfer portal, and they have the #1 transfer portal group in the Mountain West, and it's not really even close. I'm still pretty high on this UNLV team. They could be a potential dark horse to make the 12-team playoffs. They return all 3 primary running backs, and they do return first-team All-Mountain West receiver Ricky White. I do expect this team to be very good. The offense should be decent. But imagine if the defense takes a big step up, because the transfer portal additions could really help out on the defensive side. I do have Fresno State losing this game to UNLV, since this will be a tough road game. This could be a game that determines who gets into the Mountain West Championship, and it is kind of a toss-up game. But I gotta tell you guys, definitely keep an eye out on UNLV, because they could definitely be a team that is being slept on. But I do have Fresno State moving to 8-4 on the season, and I have them finishing with a 5-2 conference record. I do expect Fresno State to be a solid team like they usually are, and they definitely are a team that could be in the Mountain West Championship game. It will be interesting to see what this team can do in 2024. The defense is going to look very different, so that will definitely be interesting to see. But anyways, that is going to do it for the video. You guys let me know how many games you think Fresno State will win in 2024. But let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. And also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.